28 months down, yeah, the industry's been bruised, but we're not here to fold, we're here to refuse. While others pause, we built the plays, now we're leading the charge in a brand new phase. You feel that tension, that's the pressure to grow. Hiring's messy, turnovers high and budgets low, but we don't panic, we adapt. We sharpen the edge and reload the map. This is the staffing playbook, strategy on tap. Steven brings the grit, G-Money brings the slap. Forget the fluff, forget the spin. We give you plays that actually win. From the break room floor to the boardroom seat, we've walked the walk, now we bring the heat. CDLs, forklifts, line leads, and execs. We place the best and fix the wrecks. Insight, hustle, leadership, bold. No safe takes, just the truth told cold. Wanna scale your team, wanna close that gap. We've got the data, the story, and the roadmap. So turn it up, lock it in. This is more than a podcast, it's a win. This is the staffing playbook. Let's get to work, it starts right now.
Welcome back to the Staffing Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Farrell. I am not joined by my co-host, Genevieve or G-Money, although she'll get on shortly. She's having issues with getting connected. But we are joined once again for our bi-weekly series with Kim Henderson from Cobalt Compass Solutions. Kim, how are you doing?
Steven, I'm great now that I'm here with you. And G-Money, there she is.
There she is.
All right. Great to be back, guys. I've missed you.
Missed you as well. Sorry, I had technical difficulties.
It's okay. We're also joined by no other, the staffing shark, Richard Rosner. Give it up for Richard. How we doing,
Woo! The last week of summer is here.
Why'd you have to remind me of that?
That was 2 weeks ago for my kids.
At that point,
guys, not in Florida. We got summer till at least.
Oh, here we go, Kim.
Okay, so we have a jam-packed episode today. We don't have any time to waste with chit-chat because we're gonna just dive straight into the pulse of the labor market and staffing. And trust me, it's anything but steady. Kim's gonna be unpacking how the BLS keeps revising their job numbers month after month. Really want to know what that's all about with these big shifts, telling a very different story about hiring over the last 3 years. Plus, she's got fresh job hunting stats, and really she's going to reveal how candidates are actually moving. Richard, he's going to bring us the latest workplace trend that you've never heard of. At least I haven't, and it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy for some reason. It's called job hugging. So this is the flip side of job hopping, and it could reshape how leaders think about retention. And then from there, we are all going to dive into a real focus on things that are reshaping staffing right now. CEOs and hiring managers are still bracing for a downturn, even as the recession gets a little cloudy. The surge in job seekers, AI's double edge, regulatory, compliance, I-9s. This episode is not about buzzwords. We are going to help you navigate what matters right now in staffing. So with that,
if we don't get it all done today, you can join us again. Exactly.
All right. Well, I want to unpack it right now. Let's jump into this, Kim. Let's jump into the BLS. What's going on with these job revisions?
Okay. I don't know why we're not talking more about this, because at this point, I'll give you some numbers behind it and you can, jump to your own conclusions, but I'm worried about the integrity of these BLS numbers month after month, year after year. Okay. So check this. Let's go back to 2023, right? So in 2022, we had a hiring frenzy, right? Yeah. 2023, average downward adjustment month over month, 11% of BLS numbers being released and then adjust downward, 11%. 2024, BLS numbers being adjusted on average down 10% every single month from what they were originally heralded as. Yeah. 2025, I'm not sure that I believe this. It seems kind of high, but they're saying down 47% over what they came out with, right? And so basically they're saying that, the job gains for this year really are nearly quite as rosy as they may have looked. So what I go to is, why is it, whether it's 2023, 24, 25, are we adjusting these numbers down so dramatically every single month, right? 10%, 11%, higher than that. That tells me there's a problem in how they're collecting. There's something wrong underneath this, right? But I guess so what I would say is, when I read the BLS job numbers every month, I go, okay, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, because I know it's going to be adjusted in the downward position, right? Like it has been. I don't know. Maybe someone needs to lose a job. Maybe they need new leadership, because it seems like it's been month after month, year after year for the past 3 years. What say you?
Wow.
Well, I don't know, Kim.
I'm shocked you.
What I want to know is how immigration, the enforcement of immigration laws that are, existing laws on the books that are now being enforced heavily,
Right.
and I might say overly enforced, how that plays into all of this, right?
And also look at the economy as a whole and how things have been happening and changing, and unemployment rates. I think a lot of that is actually tying into this. I think there's a lot of issues that are actually driving this in a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So these numbers, real quick, I'm going to throw it out there. These numbers are BS. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if we are so naive in our industry and you believe this, I'm on the streets. I mean, if you work as a lifeguard for 1 week and they get laid off, that counts as a start. That counts as a number. It's all bogus. I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, you can say what you want about these numbers. If you study these, the trend, like Kim just said, the trend doesn't match up to what we see out there on the streets. So that's what you got to take into account here. Unemployment rate is low. Why is it low? Because everybody's exhausted their benefits. They're using their savings, their survival. There's no more. So this is where these numbers are coming from. Are these legit? When you look at them, there's no way.
Yeah. And G Money and Sharp, you guys gave me a great layup for my next bit of information, right? So check this out, okay? The CIMS Workforce Report had a study that came out, this is just about a week ago, that says that while job postings have risen 5% this year, actual hiring has dropped 10%. And they're basically saying that now for every open job, there's at least 33 applicants competing for one opening, which is up from 28 last year. And candidates, of course, are facing longer wait times, while these clients are looking for what I call the Jesus candidate, right? That can come in and part the waters and do everything. And so basically they're saying it's taking now, metrics are companies 41 days to actually make a hire, which is absolutely off the charts. So you got fierce competition, you got postings up, you got more applicants than last year for each open job, which tells me with postings being up, is it, guys, do you think they're just, in a lot of cases, pipelining candidates, to go and build for their coffers, or what do you think?
Do you remember how in 2022, I want to say, and in 2023, it was one of those things where there were a lot of ghost postings, which were actually like fake postings. Okay. And so because of everything going on, people and I've heard horror stories from people who are in management or other people applying, where, and some reporters actually came out with this as well, exposing this issue where people were having their job threatened and they're being like, hey, I've got a whole stack of paper of resumes right here that can replace you. So there's also that weird fear there.
You know what I think it is real quick? I think it's the economy. I mean, you interview somebody and then the economy changes in a week and then you're like, maybe I'll hold off on that hiring too. So just for once, I'm going to actually, on the company side here and say they don't know where to go. I mean, should they hire 5 people and then we have a downturn and they have to lay them off again? So I think they're being very strategically, calm about everything right now.
But and Stephen, you're probably with me on this one. It should be a great environment for hiring contractors, because as you know, Shark and GB, that when it is an uncertain economy and people don't want to make that commitment to the perm hire, that's usually like a fertile feeding ground to bring in contractors, right? No long-term commitment in case budgets change. And I don't think we really haven't seen an uptick in contract hiring, which is what kind of shocks me, because that's what I saw, in 2009, 2001 is, hey, we don't want to commit to the perm hire, but we will commit. We got to keep the lights on. We got to run basic, infrastructure, back office functions. We'll go bring in a contractor. We can let him or her go if we need to. But
But
I
that
haven't
comes
seen
in,
that.
you know what? The tariffs, that could be a big factor too. I mean, there's a lot going on behind the scenes here these companies have to look at before they hire somebody these days.
I mean,
Yeah.
here, just for an example of a company, Arizona Iced Tea, they own most of their manufacturing every step of the process, but guess what? They're going to have to go and increase the price from 99 cents for the first time in 30 years. Do you know why?
Why don't
Tariffs.
you tell us?
No, it's tariffs because of the aluminum.
Yep.
It comes from Canada.
Dollar
at how
Tree's the
that
same
directly-
way.
Look at how
Dollar
that
Tree's
right
$1.50
there is
now.
happening, and especially for a company that owns every step of the process except for one piece.
Mm.
Yeah. And hey, guys, to further all of this, okay, here we go. I know we always end up on the AI track, but this is
Math
really
teacher
starting
again.
to me. So 55% of companies, hiring companies out there right now, are using AI for candidate screening and assessment. 40%, it says, are using it for matching, and 37% are using it for sourcing. Those are pretty darn high numbers, which tell me that, let's say Steven or GB is a great candidate, a great fit for a job. They submit their resume, and next thing you know, they forget a keyword, and AI has screened them out, and they could have been a great fit. That's kind of worrying me a little bit.
Yeah, that's the pros and cons of this new wave of technology with AI. Is we're learning as we go, and certainly I think companies are starting to recognize that it's not perfect. It hallucinates, and based on how you prompt it, how you train it, the guardrails you put in place. Yeah, to your point, Kim, you could be missing out on some stellar candidates that just didn't have the right keyword. And as we work through this process with this relationship with employer to employee, as employees, we also need to recognize that and make sure we are using AI to help infuse those keywords to be recognized by the AI models that are scraping resumes for the job posting. And so It goes both ways. I think we're all fumbling through this together, but certainly employers need to recognize it and respond to it, as well as employees that are searching for a job.
But also for like candidates or associates or whomever is looking for a job, don't be fearful to go and run it through AI. Copy and paste, be like, help me update my resume for this role. Okay. And then it can go and help you out as a tool.
But let's not, I mean, okay, guys, I'm going to say this straight up. Let's not blame AI for everything. I think we do because AI doesn't talk back to us. We have to blame the human person, the job seeker. There's other avenues. If you don't get a call, then you go in the back door. You send a pizza with your resume on it. There's so many other avenues. So I think at the end of the day, sometimes we use AI as an scapegoat. It's like, oh, AI can get me hired.
Okay,
I mean,
so to that point, what I want to get into is, right, I agree with you. No one can just sit and be a victim and go, oh, there's 33 applicants per job, I'm hosed. We can't be victims. There's things that we can do. And I want us to get into that, so we can help people that are out there that are looking right now, because there are things you can do, right? And control your own destiny, be the CEO of your own life and your own job search. So we'll get to that. But I think along the lines of what I'm talking about today, Richard, you had a new trend you wanted to talk about that kind of fits in nicely with this.
It does.
Let's hear it.
Alrighty. So now these days, there's no more job hopping. It's job hugging. So hug anything. You got to hug your job, or I hug my shark. It is what it is. But all joking aside here,
He needs a dog.
Or a friend.
Entertainment. But all joking aside, the job hugging trend is big time these days because people are fearful of losing their job because there's nothing else out there. So what happens here is with this is, are they secure? Are they happy at their job? Probably not. They're stagnant, but they're staying there because they're like, I have a family, I have everything else. So they are doing whatever it takes to keep that job. If it's, if it's serving coffee to the supervisor, if it's staying late. Are they miserable? Yes. This is the trend that's going on now, but they're like, I'll do whatever it takes so I do not get exit here.
Which is going to go and lead to burnout and disengagement.
Exactly, it is. I mean, so when you address job hugging, I have some things here. Signs of job hugging: increased stress that may impact the behavior of your team. So your team's stressed out, but they're going to do whatever they say. They're not going to talk to the boss and communicate anymore because they just want to keep their job. Performance change too, so maybe they're going to try to get a raise and they're like, you know what, I'm not even going to ask for that raise. I'm just going to stay stagnant where I'm at because everybody's happy. Another one, eager to assist, like I just said, in other avenues. If you're a sales rep, it's like, hey, maybe I'll recruit a little bit more now. Stuff like that. And they outgrow their roles. So, they outgrow the roles. Where are you going to go? So this is a red flag. I'm going to tell you right, with the job hugging guys, it doesn't benefit the employee or the employer at all. And this is something that's a big concern, but what do you do in this economy? So this is the trend now that people are saying they're hugging on their job as anything they can do to keep it.
It's kind of like the Pope, right? Somebody has to die. The Pope has to die before someone can kind of get promoted and a new person can come in. I hate to put it so graphically, but think about it. If people aren't leaving their job, it doesn't create a mechanism for, mid-level folks to get promoted or folks under them to get promoted. And it doesn't create an opening for, call it, new hires, new college grads, or just new hires in general to get in the door, right? It stagnates and it gridlocks everything.
Yeah, and it can stop potential growth of the actual company itself. Because it's like, hey, we're just all going to keep the same mindset of always doing what we've always done.
Good point.
So, Richard, the term itself feels really warm. Job hugging
sounds warm, but not.
It makes me want to go, okay, let's hug them back, right? But what you're explaining is they're just, because of the economy, because the job market is not robust like it used to be. Still a lot of uncertainty with companies on making hiring decisions. They're holding off on their spend. We've got, of course, tariffs. We've got immigration policy. And so what you're telling us, Richard, is people are just holding on to their job, even if they dislike the job they have, or their boss, or the company they're working for, or even the industry, but they feel handcuffed to their job until something changes in the economy. And that doesn't sound so warm to me.
No, they are totally hostage right now. But you know what? Oh, here's a couple tips here that I've read about how employers can help out here, because it's a happy medium here. Communicate, check in with your employees, check in and ask them if they're okay. Because the mental health, when you're here and you're hugging onto your job, what do you think your mental health is like when you go home at nighttime?
It's probably crumbling.
Yeah, you're just miserable. You're like, oh my goodness. Another one is invest in employee growth. Employers have to see these signs, Another one, flex schedule. Let's do a flex schedule again, Get these employees happy again. Model empathy. And explain the company vision is another big one. So these are ones that you can address the job hugging. And I think employers see this sometimes and they'll overlook it and they think they got the upper hand, but in the end, they don't.
And do you know a great question? Oh, I'm sorry, GB.
Go.
A great question you can ask your employees, right? We all know that it's not laissez-faire. You don't hands off and never talk to them, because that's when, all kinds of things can grow and fester and they leave the organization or just become miserable and stay. But as we meet with them, weekly or monthly, quarterly, whatever your schedule is, one question I always used to like to ask is, and again, you do it kind of at the end of the conversation, right? When you're going through everything is, tell me about the last time you almost quit working here. And it's a great way for them to, I used to ask that question and they would give me an honest answer. Oh, it was when we were going through X, Y, Z and ABC happened and this wasn't organized or whatever. So it gives a real clear picture of what can improve. We always want to ask, what can I do different as a leader? What can the company do different, right? So we look into ourselves and where we have to improve to support them. But I like to ask, hey, tell me about the last time that you almost quit here. And what was going on, what was happening, and you get it really kind of crystallizes what's going on in their world and what's important to them and what kind of upsets them and can it really opened my eyes to a lot of things when I started to ask it that way.
I love that, Kim, but this day and age, I'm going to be honest with you, they're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to do whatever they can to hug onto their job. I'm just going to throw it back there. Do you think they're going to tell you, well, I would have quit yesterday? And they're like, well, you're out the door. You never know.
Yeah, I would be honest with that. My boss said, hey, tell me about, depending on your relationship you have with your boss, right? I think that's the key.
That's a key.
You've got a pretty decent relationship and you guys have a dialogue and trust with one another. It's a pretty darn good question. Now, if you already have mistrust of the organization, you hate the person you're working for, you're probably not going to answer that. But when I would ask that, I got some pretty good answers. It was like, okay, this is an area of things that we need to work on as a company, right? But also too, I think that at least gives people, in a way, they can kind of have their day in court and feel like, they get to talk about what that situation was, and assuming they're honest with us, and then hopefully we can go and take that to heart and either fix things about ourselves as leaders or try to work on some things in the company,
And I like what you said there, Kim. And I think if you do this, you should do it in a group, not one-on-one, so other people can hear it, so they can base it off that. I think everything should be in a group. When you have these discussions.
You're right. There's multiple ways to do it, because then you may have other people that there's safety in numbers, right? Other people may jump on the bandwagon and go, we first stood up that national recruiting center. Oh gosh, it was terrible. They weren't filling our jobs. Then you kind of start to see the trends, right? So, and safety in numbers.
Friday afternoon, we were all going to walk out. When you were voting supervisor, we were all walking out.
Well, I mean, even think about it this way, like a submission box where it could be completely anonymous. And then it's like, hey, you guys, you have a full week, put it here. And then that way, getting that good, honest feedback, and then that would actually reduce the level of fear that people would have, especially within this economy, because if they're job huggers, okay? So this way, as a collective, rather than anyone feeling like they're pinpointed, that could be a way to get that feedback for the management team, for the company, in order to go and be like, oh, here are the impediments that my team had. They felt like this when we went like that. Okay, we've got to correct and go onto a better course rather than what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, GB, and here's why. A lot of big companies will do that annual employee survey. Oh boy, I'm here to tell you, when you work for a big company, what I learned and found out is, while it looks like it's anonymous, it's not. We knew exactly who was saying what. I mean, my God, it's tied to your email address. I mean, it's no big secret, right? So anyway, I like what you said, because like employee surveys, the big companies send out, or medium companies, people know who you are, and maybe you get filtered thoughts.
Or it will get filtered down to the point where, someone has a team of 10 and they can figure out who said what based off of their written language.
So I like these suggestions. In fact, it's not a novel idea, right? We've all seen the anonymous tip box in the manufacturing facility, in the office. Of course, we have the so-called anonymous NPS surveys that go out quarterly or monthly or biannually. And there's certainly some distrust there. Is HR going to ask security to look to see who dropped that note in the suggestion box, right? So I think if we get to the core of the issue, where you can maybe set aside all those NPS scores and, suggestion boxes, is, you have created this environment where your employees distrust you, distrust the organization, distrust the leadership. And so that is what needs to be fixed. If you're afraid of these job huggers that are staying in your organization, well, let's have an inward look here. Let's look at what our culture is, what we stand for. Are we following that path, or have we gotten off track? And let's be honest as a leadership team, and let's start fixing it. And back to what you said, Richard, which I think it was Richard, you said this, it's the relationship with your boss, right? That's what really matters. If you're a job hugger and you have a great relationship with your boss, and Kim happens to be your boss, and she asks you, hey, tell me last time you thought about quitting. Well, they're going to be honest with you, and they might tell you how they're feeling today. And that's great, because now we can work with that. And so I think there's a lot more work to be done at the leadership level, at the organizational level, to turn these company huggers into company fans, right? To be part of this organization, or help them find something that they're more passionate about.
You got it. And hold everybody accountable. The employee and employer both be accountable. That's the thing, is don't point fingers at somebody else. And I think that'll solve everything. Communication, like Kim said, and G-Money, it's all about communication. You have to communicate with your employees.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And be willing to see we all have blind spots in ourselves, right? Things that we don't see about ourselves that maybe aren't necessarily so good. So if we're asking, hey, what can I do different? How can I support you better? What should I be doing that I'm not? Or what am I doing that I should stop doing, right? A lot of times employees will tell you, and you gotta take that open feedback and kind of take it to heart, right?
Yeah.
Because none of us are perfect.
Mm-hmm. No,
That's
it's
right.
true. And I think just admitting to yourself, it's like, hey, listen, I'm not perfect. But what can we do to make
My
this better
bad. I
together?
messed up. I blanked up, right? Just say it.
Ownership. Like ownership of it.
There was I can't remember the source. We did this in like episode 3 or 4 of Staffing Playbook. We had, oh my gosh, I can't even remember his name now. He's a good friend of mine. Anyway, sorry, he's from Grow Up
Christmas
Leadership.
gift for you, brother.
Ian McLeod. So he cited a study that your high performance teams versus your low performing teams, the high performing teams, big difference between the two is that they tell on themselves every time. They speak up and say, I made a mistake, I own it, help me, let's fix it. Versus low performers, they don't speak up. They're quiet. They hope that you didn't see it.
Or they point the finger.
And they hope that you did see
They're
it.
just going through the motions. That's all. Get that W-2 check every week.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you have members on your team, especially your leadership team, if they're not raising their hand all the time and saying, I made a mistake, they might be a job hugger.
Yeah.
And here's something else real quick, guys. In the meetings, the people that are quiet, you have to call on them. Like when I have a meeting with like 10 people, I don't want the same 4 people talking all the time. It's like, I'm going to call on Joe and I'm going to call, even when I speak, I'm like, call them out a little bit, get them engaged, because I think your whole team needs to be engaged.
Richard's
100%.
the quiet one in the meeting.
Yeah, I'm
no, I don't think he's been quiet a day in his life. But so it makes me think about something. So like a good family friend of ours, like years ago, she started to go work for this company in Boston. It was a marketing company, and she really loved the company culture. But they had this one rule. Okay, it could be any time of day, but if leadership came out and they're like beer 30, okay, it was called beer 30. They had like a keg in there.
Ooh.
And everyone had to stop what they were doing and actually go, like, if they want to have like kombucha or something else, they had that. But beer 30, they took that 30 minutes out. And this is the time when they actually had like real conversations. Like you couldn't really talk about work, but like she even like said, she's like, no, she's like, I actually talked my way into getting a promotion because like everyone, it was one of those more relaxed times, and it would just be something that would happen randomly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Staffing firms, trust me, beer, people will tell you anything after a couple beers. Do it. I've done it before with my clients and my candidates. So
yeah, but it was just a cultural thing, and everyone could get to like communicate and talk with one another and not have to worry about work for 30 minutes. And then when beer 30 was up, all right, let's go get back to it.
Well, instead of 45 minutes, beer 45.
Time for my beer 15 nap afterwards.
Yeah.
Kim.
G-Money, the thing is, and you're hitting on it, is, leadership takes a servant's heart, right? It is not about you. It's 100% about them, how you can support them, promote them, mentor them, coach them, and remove obstacles out of their way so they can become successful. Has nothing to do with you. It's really that servant's heart. Where you really want to serve and support them and help them. And I would say to people, if that's not why you're in it and why you're managing and why you're leading, then you're in it for all the wrong reasons, because that's really what it takes, in order to be successful in leadership. If you're more of a, hey, me, or individualistic person or individual contributor, there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. But just realize that's probably aren't going to be the best skills to transfer into going and supporting a team.
I agree 100%. And the thing is, there's a difference between a leader and a boss. Okay. Like someone who's going to help their team develop the skills, or be like, here, like, and I worked for someone previously. She'd be like, take this course, blah, 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 and would help remove the impediments to at least provide that time so I could go learn a new skill to help grow rather than staying in a stagnant spot. And so that's another thing.
Lead by example is the number one thing, If you're in staffing,
guys,
right along with your sales reps. All right, Steve, we got a roll here.
We are on a roll, and we've covered 1.5 topics. So real briefly, let's jump straight back into staffing. We're still in this 3-year plus recession. If you look at the staffing index that's published by the ASA, if you look at the one published by the SIA, you see this trend line. We are still down compared to last year. The gap is starting to close a little bit compared to last year. I don't think we're going to quite hit last year. But if you guys recall, there's been, published by the ASA, they predicted, at first, I believe, a 6% increase this year compared to last year, brought it down to 3%. I think they're now down to 1. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody here, but even if we have a Q4 surge, is that enough to make up for the entire year? Is the industry going to be up 1% compared to last year, or are we going to be flat? Hot take, Kim?
Okay, I think as you get to December, right, November and December, traditionally, I believe, at least I always, in the staffing role where I came from, there always was an uptick in hiring because people have budgets and they almost have to use those dollars or they lose those dollars, right? So you'll see an uptick in perm and contract hiring November, December. But having said that, looking at it in totality, no, I don't think that it's going to be some red banner year. I don't think that we're going to make up all the flatness in the last 4 months. We'll get a little bit of a surge, I think, end of year as we clear out budgets and use up budget dollars. But no, there's just not. I don't think there's a catalyst necessarily to drive that to make up for where we are, the flatness of the year. Too late.
And agree, Kim. And even seasonal work, I'm going to just say straight up, it's not going to be the same as it was the last 3 years ago. AI's taken over a lot of that stuff. So you're not going to have that ramp up at the FedEx and UPS like we did 3-4 years ago. We've seen it every year, dwindle down. So just embrace it. All I can say is ride out 25 and get ready for 26. Right now, you guys should be preparing. Me and Kim talk about that all the time for 26. Ride the wave out, but get ready.
Yeah, if you start preparing in December, you're so far behind the 8 ball. Like I mentioned before, be meeting with your customers now. Start doing that staffing resource assessment. What's Q4? What's Q1 going to look like? What are the strategic initiatives? What are the challenges? What are the big changes that are coming up to the business? Is it moves in or out of the market, an IPO, a divestiture? What's going to drive their business, right, in any direction in Q4 and into next year? That's the stuff right now we need to be asking about so we can get prepared, start pipelining candidates, or start organizing around that business, that potential business, to get prepared. Hey, maybe they're going to go and have a new software release. Okay, time to go get the Java developers in line. But start asking those questions now to get prepared. Don't just run into your client and go, hey, got a job order, right? I know that's how we live and we make our money. Ask the deeper questions, right? Initiatives, strategic changes, what's going to impact them, challenges, what's next look like?
So Kim, what you said in our previous episode, I want to say 49. I don't know. There's too many of these now. You brought this up when it was coming to like your Q4 planning.
Yeah.
Ask about any projects that failed to launch in this previous year, and if they have the plans. Sorry, I was just like, Kim, you forgot a piece.
Money has a memory like an elephant, and I love it. I love it.
I was like, it's a golden nugget. Like that's another pinpoint right there.
Because so many companies put things on hold this year, waiting and seeing, and okay, how has that impacted your business? What risk do you and your business run if you don't address this, right? Because sometimes they could just be cobbling things together with chewing gum and twine, right? Maybe they do need to go make a move and hire if they put something on hold.
That's why being proactive, guys, right? Like I say, like build your beach body, build your staffing body right now for 26. Also up the workforce
on my beach body. So Kim, interesting. So Staffing Hub, our friends over at Staffing Hub note that only 36% of CEOs now expect a recession. So it's dropped, but 80% of hiring managers are still preparing for one. And you've got 34% of CEOs plan to reduce staff, especially in a downturn scenario. And so, I think that's definitely feeding into what we're experiencing on the front lines when we're out there, trying to expand wallet share, trying to get new business. There's still a lot of hesitation because even CEOs are saying, we still expect a recession. And hiring managers are like, we really think one's coming and we're preparing. And so your conversations, go back to that episode that we had, I think it is 49. There are ways to have some candid conversations and get aligned at the table with your companies, with your clients to help them prepare for the upside or a downturn. Either way, you're a partner, you're helping them, and you're asking questions that other agencies are just, quite frankly, are not. They're just going in asking for an order.
You're saying we're going to a recession? I thought we were in one right now. Here's the way it acts. I mean, way it looks, but all joking aside, no, being proactive, like you're totally right on that, Stephen. At the end of the day, it's like, we don't know where we're going to end up at. So, I think the biggest thing that we learned from all talking today is be proactive and get your stuff lined up for 26 and the end of the quarters. I mean, that's the whole thing is don't be a victim. Like Kim said, please do not be a victim.
Because if you start doing the work now, you can actually go. We're not going to be able to recover if you act too late. You're not going to be able to recover the past few months or, the majority of the months. But if you start and you work and build out a plan, you can actually build out a stronger end to the end of the year and a strong beginning into 2026.
And there's no better excuse to be in front of a client, a hiring company right now, than as we start to get into Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those are just built-in open doors to get in there and have conversations and take them out to lunch, whatever that is, and start having, these ask these real questions and start to listen.
Perfect,
right?
Kim. And guess what? They will hug you too.
Yes, that's right. You make it a hug. But let me tell you guys, here's something that's really positive, right? And we haven't said this. Stock market's going gangbusters, right? That means companies have got money. Now, if I go back to 2001 and 2009, when the stock market started going down into the can, right? That's when you start that spiral of layoffs and, oh God, we're really not hiring, and oh, we're really bearing down. So that is a beautiful bright spot right now that, that shows that, okay, at least we're steady, right? We're flatlining, which is,
right.
In terms of jobs and hiring, because the stock market's strong.
Good point. All right, real quick, a rapid fire topic here. AI's impact on staffing with cuts and talent wars. Staffing Hub, again, they put out a report. I love the title, AI Ate My Hiring Strategy. But in this report, they noted over 62,000 jobs that were cut in the month of July due to AI adoption. Yet, if you think about it, we're seeing it here in our own internal, our own organization. Companies are requiring AI skills, and these actually bring in much higher compensation if you're already skilled in these AI tools, because now you can do the work of 3 recruiters as a single recruiter because you are adept in AI. You understand the tools. You're always learning, what's new and how you can apply it in your business. And so, I think, we hear about job cuts. We don't always see them, but the fact that we have a notable 62,000 job cuts in July just from AI adoption. What does that mean for the staffing industry? Translate this for me.
One thing it means is a lot of the tasks that AI is doing are replacing entry-level jobs, right? Like, maybe customer service, data analysis, looking at, analytics, things like that. So it is having, I think, maybe more, so far, a disproportionate higher impact on like new grads, because those entry-level jobs are the ones that have been, really taken over by AI. And coming from the IT world, call it, maybe junior coders, junior developers. You've got Microsoft saying that as much as almost as high as 30% of their coding is now done by AI, which enabled them to kind of go through that whole layoff round that they had several months ago. Don't need those jobs anymore, right? So I think the entry-level people, it looks like are getting hit the hardest because those are the type of jobs that AI is taking.
100%. Like the sourcing is pretty much all AI now. Computer science, probably one of the worst degrees to have right now. I hate to say it, because when you get out, I have like 6 people right now, they can't get a job in computer science degree. But like you said, Kim, here we go again. We're saying we're losing these jobs. If you're in staffing recruiting, you have to adapt. Stop complaining. Stop bitching. Get out there and learn this. Trust me. If the shark loves AI, you guys can love AI too. It's so simple. These 70,000 people losing their jobs, yeah, these are probably entry level, like Kim said, but the ones that are losing their job didn't adapt to what's going on in the last 2 years.
Exactly.
Get out there and make it happen, my friends.
I love it. Adaptation. Yeah. Okay. What happened to the dinosaurs? Couldn't adapt. We've got to adapt. We've got to pivot.
It was those little arbs.
Land of the lost with Kim.
Listen, we still have alligators and crocodiles.
There's one industry that doesn't have to adapt. G Money. What industry has not adapted?
Oh,
let's see. What do you think? Because I'm going to jump in on this one.
Okay. Well,
what
I got to tell you, it's probably hospitality because they really don't have to. Because unless I've been to the restaurants with, okay, you can go push buttons or have like a robot server, but I don't like that because I like to go for an experience. So industries that have more of an experience with that whole human touch, that's where I would genuinely go and lead with that. But what are you thinking, Kim? You're about to drop
I like
the
what
mic.
you said, and you're right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw healthcare out there.
Government.
Right? It's the only industry that still uses a fax machine. Okay, far and wide. Everyone I know that's like a nurse or a doctor, if you've ever, want to send something, they use a fax. They don't use like an email type of thing. It's like, what? Who's servicing your fax machine? Is there
That'll be going away,
man, right?
But also personal data, privacy. If there was a data breach, I mean, there like a lot of the HIPAA laws there. I don't know. So maybe like it's going to be a little bit slower for them to adapt. But I guarantee you, there will be certain things within healthcare that will be automated through AI. But at the end of the day, like a triage nurse, they're safe.
Bartenders never going to be replaced.
The only industry that can leave you waiting an hour after a scheduled appointment with no explanation, no sorry, no tough luck, whatever. I mean, imagine if we kept any of our customers waiting an hour, we would have none. There's zero customer service across the board. You can tell a hot button about them. They need to adapt, pivot, and kind of move forward into the 21st century.
I don't disagree with anything that you've shared, Kim. I think healthcare definitely is going to be I think they're going to be a slow adopter, but I believe there's going to be some significant healthcare breakthroughs using AI. But when it comes to their service delivery, their software, the way they administer, it's certainly going to be a slow adoption. But I don't think anyone's safe in the end. I'll give you a really short story. I had a line that busted in my yard for my irrigation system. I had this 4 foot by 4 foot bubble in my grass that was like a foot off the ground. And traditionally you would just have to dig up like that whole 4 foot by 4 foot section to find the line because you don't know exactly where it's at. Or you can use some little, tools that can scan the yard, but that costs money. You got to hire somebody to do that. So I took a picture of my bubble in my yard. I took a picture of my valve box that was closest to it, and then got the whole thing in the scene. And I asked AI to pinpoint where the line break is, and it literally drew an arrow all the way to the spot in the grass, and it had it measured by inches. It put an artificial shovel right where it says the broken line is going to be. I literally just walked up, stuck my shovel 6 inches into the ground where it told me to. There was the broken line. I mean,
whoa. What tool did you use for this?
That was ChatGPT.
However, you still have to go and do the manual work. And that's one of those things with skilled labor. Yes, there are certain areas where AI is going to impact it just like that. But there is still that laborious part of actually doing the thing.
The manual labor
AI
stuff.
going to replace a carpenter? Is it?
Not yet.
No.
HVAC, welder, nope, never. But like Steve, you summed it up. AI is going to assist you in that.
That's right.
Before that, you'd have to go to YouTube, and you'd have to go maybe to the store and try to have somebody do it. Look at that. AI did that in no time for you.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple more things I want to hit real quick. American Staffing Association did a workforce survey. They found that 49% of job seekers believe AI recruiting tools are more biased than human recruiters. And so there's some hesitancy of adopting these as companies. There's hesitancy from job seekers to, talk to an AI bot. And so this, it's hard to dispute the data, but, we're also seeing, other use cases where people really embrace AI and they love it as a job seeker. And so I think there's still this battle between human versus the bots. Who's going to win? The bias, certainly. I think that's at some point going to Congress. There's going to be something layered into ADA accommodations with AI and so on. But there's still this pushback against AI from job seekers.
Well, have you seen all the discrimination lawsuits?
Right.
When it comes to AI, there's been several of them. And so that's where it's like, it goes back to how you program and model it. But the thing is, like, we're only human. We're going to make errors. And if we're the ones putting in the input and the data,
that's right.
Who does it actually really fall onto?
Yes,
that's right. Humans are biased. They get sued for it.
Human.
AI going to program by a biased human, going to get sued for it.
I mean, or it could just be something like you overmissed it, and it's not by being like biased towards something. It's like, oh, here, I didn't even think about that.
Well, you know what, guys? AI is the target for everything right now. It is, as you noticed that. AI, we blame AI for everything. But at the end of the day, in the hiring process, the human's hiring the person, right? Not AI. And you know what? Are we judging against people? We say we don't judge. I swear to God, 100%. People judge all the time. You judge on looks, you judge on character, you judge on speak. But we say we're not biased. So who is biased? The AI or the human?
It's the human.
Equal. Exactly right.
So again, guys, what I'd say is I get it that people have, fear with that, but get out on LinkedIn, find the hiring manager or what you think is the hiring manager for those jobs, start to reach out, do introductions, see if you can get to the right person and get your resume to the right person. Again, don't just be the victim to, the black hole of the abyss of the resume death. Find the person, start conversations, right? Get out there, use LinkedIn as a tool and put yourself out there, right? You can control your activity and you can control your attitude, right? Hey, make it easy on yourself. Start also trying to find like VP of engineering. If you're, a test engineer and you want to get hired, go out on LinkedIn, go to the company, go reach out.
Kim, that takes effort.
Lean into your network. And I think Kim actually said this several episodes ago. Don't just go and be like, oh, hey, that person that you only ask up for a job every once in a while or ask a favor for. Lean into your network because you don't know who's going to be connected in like the company, let's just say XYZ jobs or whatever. We're going to call it that today. Whomever is connected as the hiring manager, but someone you may know, maybe you know them really well or you don't know them or someone else can go help you make a soft introduction. So don't be a stranger to LinkedIn. Actually put in the effort because looking for a job, I mean, it's not easy. It really isn't. It's very, very time consuming.
And let's all say this. There's more than LinkedIn. Can I say this real quickly? There's more than LinkedIn. There's Facebook, everybody. Tap into, I hate the word network, by the way. Tap into your community, your peeps. If it's church or anywhere you go or networking, I hate that word because you're networking. That's like plugging stuff in. Come on, let's get real. Community is the way to go. But Facebook, Blue Sky, the X, they're all platforms have people on there. Tap into them.
That's right.
Yep. You don't have to limit it to just one.
Go have conversations, right? Go have conversations. And G-Money, you said it again. Thank you. Don't reach out to your former coworker that you haven't talked to in 7 years and expect them to want to help you.
Exactly.
Here we go again. That's what they're thinking. Actively stay engaged with your community and the people you know. Reach out. Hey, how you doing? Without anything over time.
Even if it's like hey, happy birthday, hey, happy holidays, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I saw that you did this. What's 5 seconds of your time?
Communication without a purpose is the key in the beginning.
I agree.
Okay, one more topic before we wrap this up in a great discussion. Last week I was about to go crazy on LinkedIn with all the gig apps and agencies that do misclassify workers sometimes. At least that's my opinion. They are calling out the staffing industry. They're making fun of us, blah, 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 whatever. I almost got dragged into this dogfight, but it does bring up a really important topic. So the Department of Labor issued a field assistant bulletin instructing staff not to enforce the 2024 independent contracting rule. And it was going to defer back to the guidance in 2019 and 2008 with misclassification. And in July of this year, the U.S. Fourth Circuit Court upheld a $9 million misclassification judgment against a Virginia nursing agency. So it's a staffing agency that classified 1,100 contract nurses as independent contractors. There was another lawsuit in Colorado that alleged this health clinic misclassified doctors. And so we are seeing these stories pop up left and right. They are being enforced. So if you're an agency misclassifying your workers, or if you're a company misclassifying your workers, you're going to face some hefty fines. And I don't think we're seeing the Department of Justice let up on this, and with all of the immigration being enforced. And so I think we've got to pay attention to it as an industry. And I don't know if I want to get in the dogfight with these gig apps, but it's clear that the Department of Justice has gotten into that dogfight. And I think as agencies, as employers, especially as agencies, you should be very clear about your classification of your workers, and invite audits from your customers, invite to help them audit, because this is a big deal and it's going to put some people out of business.
And I would say too, if you when in doubt, and obviously if you can't afford to have a general counsel on your staff, which many staffing companies can't, there's fractional employment attorneys out there that focus specifically on the staffing industry, that you could tap on the shoulder and say, hey, on an hourly basis, give me guidance on this, give my staffing company guidance on this, so we don't mess it up and we don't get it wrong and get into a bad way. So there are resources out there, so you don't have to go it alone as a staffing company and figure it out yourself.
But you know what, guys, this happens more than ever. Every time I go in a staffing firm to help them out, misclassification, it's all the time. Welder, putting down as an admin, because you're saving them pennies on it. But here's the key. If somebody gets hurt, your staffing firm's out of business. You know that. I mean, it's not going to cover it if you're classifying a welder as an admin and saving that $7 an hour,
Not
so
at all.
At the end of the day, misclassification, insurance is not going to pay anything out if somebody gets hurt.
It's a liability.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And in staffing, you have what's called co-employment. That's a real thing. And so if you are misclassifying a worker and they get injured on the job, and they were supposed to have their own workman's comp coverage as an independent contractor, which if you're making $25 an hour, you likely can't afford your workman's comp coverage and probably know nothing about it. No one's talked to you. And where's your contractor's license, right? And you got to pay all these taxes at the end of the year because no one was matching those taxes. And so that employee is not only going to sue the agency that set them up for failure, but they're going to sue the client company that they got injured at. And so now you've put not only your employee at risk, or contractor as you classified, but you're putting your clients at risk as well as your firm. And so the days of getting away with it is long gone. And, it's time to do what's right and address it and work on a plan to right size your misclassified employees.
You got it right. All you staffing firms out there being shady, it's time for you to fess up, because I'm going to tell you, on the streets, there's more people who does this than ever, especially in light industrial, Steve. And I mean, I see it all the time. Even my competitors back in the day, they were looking at the classification like, what? All these, anything to save a buck, but at the end of the day, you're going to get killed. And I'm glad government's stepping up to the plate these days. That's finally something, that's big in our industry, because it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah,
It really has been. And the thing is, it's not just federal and state taxes. Like, you also have to pay self-employment taxes, which is 15.3%. That's something that they can go and sue for. And don't worry, we have an ebook coming out soon.
That's right.
And guys, we didn't mention this, but obviously you're assuming maybe the staffing company has their own back office, and of course they're handling all this. If they use an employer of record, obviously the employer of record would go and classify those individuals, pay their taxes, do all their filings, and do it the right way, of course, because they don't want to be on the hook. So an EOR is an option, and like I said, if you don't want to go that option, get a fractional, staffing attorney in there to kind of lead you and guide you. That way you're not committed to them, 40 hours a week.
That's right.
There's answers, right?
Just warning, you get a staffing attorney, they're going to be strict as can be. Trust me.
Oh
I've
yeah.
dealt with it
As they
before.
should
Oh
be.
boy. I'm like, no, that's not the code I want. They're like,
all right. So really quick, Kim and Richard, what's coming up next for you guys? Kim, I know you're coming down to TempNet. Is that right?
TempNet in lovely Park City, Utah, September 17th through the 19th. So for anyone that would like to attend that, and any TempNet members out there listening, excited to talk about selling statement of work business on Friday the 19th, followed up by talking about differentiation and value add and gaining client share in our account. So those are the topics that I'll be covering on Friday the 19th. And on the 18th, we have a slate of additional speakers. So don't miss it. Sign up. Park City,
Awesome.
Utah.
Can't wait to see you when you get here. Richard, I know you're
Yes.
just wrapping up your speaker tour, taking a month off, and then what's next?
oh, big time. So in the month of September, check it out. I got some great guests coming on the Staffing Shark Experience podcast. And then September 29th to October 4th, the most exciting virtual week of your life, the Staffing World Tailgate. Probably about 30 guests will be on all week from 12 o'clock to 4. So tune in on all platforms.
That's phenomenal. Staffing World, I think we're all going to be there. First
Heck
10
yeah.
people that reference the Staffing Playbook will get a t-shirt. We'll be handing them out to the first 10 that, say they watched this episode or any prior episode. I'm going to be speaking at the Finish the Year Strong. It's a virtual conference put on by Benjamin Mina of the Elite Staffing Playbook. I just merged our two podcasts. I'm sorry, Benjamin. The Elite Recruiter podcast. Although that sounds kind of nice. Elite Recruiter Playbook. I don't know. So hope you guys can sign up there. It's absolutely free. And then a plug for next week's episode. We are doing a deep dive on the one-page marketing plan. We're bringing in Matt Frisbee, who conducted the workshop with our organization. We're going to have our director of marketing, Mark Webb, on there because, he was now on the receiving side of that workshop and implementing it, as well as John Viev, who's been part of this process all along. So it's going to be all things marketing next week. Make sure you tune in on Friday. And then the following week, if we can get Kim and Richard back, we're going to have another staffing update and hit some of these topics in more details. So with that, everybody,
Happy Labor Day, people.
And I'm just going to be working here.
Yes, enjoy Labor Day. No work.
Enjoy that pool.
Right.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching today's episode. This episode is sponsored by Staffing Referrals. We have relied on staffing referrals for years to turn satisfied associates into brand ambassadors, keeping quality talent coming in and lift retention. See what it can do for you at staffingreferrals.com or click on the link in the description. Thanks for watching.